I used this gag for the first review, but A Quiet Place Part 2 came out recently. Let's talk about it. Alright folks, I'm just going to go out the gate with this because the film did really. The intro to A Quiet Place Part 2 is among the best film intros that I've ever seen. Because it provides some backstory. It wouldn't work without the first film, obviously, because it does connect. There's some just really clever choices that remind you of things in the first film, but it is wholly engrossing. It is fully captivating. John Krasinski's directing is peak here, and it is just so spectacular. You have many tracking shots that are just one take the whole time. Really excellent stuff all around. So just know that if you pay the price for this ticket, at minimum you will get an excellent opening scene. This should seriously be in the conversation when discussing best film intros of all time. It accomplishes absolutely everything it needs to, and it's truly just such an amazing way to start the experience. Aside from the intro, the film pretty much picks up exactly where the last one left off, and really the whole film just feels like a natural continuation of what's already happened. This story could very well have existed, and this could just be a retelling of it. That's how natural it feels. Specifically the character arcs I was impressed by. I feel like they adapted them nicely off of where the first one left off. The film takes a lot of the same tricks that the first one did, but I do feel like it does them differently enough in order to give you a fresh experience rather than just an entire rerun. But, I mean, it's still very clear that it's taking some inspiration, I suppose, if you can call it that, from the first film. The climax is set in at about the same time. All the characters are sort of split up. And then as well, once the climax starts, you have all that set up in the beginning, and then once the climax starts, it really just, the tension is nonstop. I had two questions here. Maybe you can answer them for me if you've seen the film. Obviously, big spoilers here. But number one, I forgot their names. Yeah, I forgot their names. But why did the kid, you probably know who I'm talking about, why did he leave the bunker? There was no really reason explicitly given. I don't think he was going to look for his mom. I suppose that's the only thing that would make sense, and even that I'm a little iffy about. And then he obviously stumbles into something, makes some noise, and then that's sort of the catalyst for his part of the film after that. So I don't get that. And then also, what was the goal of the people on the dock? Were they, at first I was like, are they trying to, I don't know what their goal could possibly be. Just to torture these poor people, stop them from getting boats? I don't know. Don't get it. If they had access to the boats for so long, why didn't they just take one themselves? I don't know. Not sure. I forgot her name as well, but easily the best character of this film. She was obviously a highlight in the first, but easily the best character of this film is the deaf girl. She really takes the I hope that's not disrespectful to just label her as that, but I really did forget her name. Lee's daughter. She really takes the forefront of the film. She carries this thing pretty much on her back. Her dynamic with Cillian Murphy's character, forgot his name as well. I'm not great with names, evidently. That's a great dynamic in and of itself, and they both obviously learn from each other. And I think that she definitely is the highlight of this franchise now. And I'll get you may wonder why I say franchise. We'll talk about that at the end. And then just to close it out, I think I'm going to talk a bit about both where the franchise is going and a bit about my thoughts about it in general. I definitely think a third film will come, just because if you've seen the film, you know how it ends just so abruptly. Not even kidding, it just ends pretty much instantly after the climax really ends. And I think that there's no real resolution, so obviously that's going to be a part of the third one when it will inevitably release. I promise you a third one is coming. You don't leave a franchise like that, especially one that makes this much money. And I think that it will probably have that little moment of resolution from this one that we didn't get to see, maybe for another captivating intro. That's why they're saving it. And then it'll flash forward. I assume there will be some semblance of a civilization, and that'll be the main plot point. Maybe some inner turmoil in the civilization is fully functioning, yada yada, whatever. The baby will be grown up, because their arcs, really both arcs of the kids, have been completed by this point, and so there will need to be new things to explore. And I also think that the second and first film ended very much in the same way, but the problem was solved in the same way. So there's really not a lot of room. I mean, obviously there's a lot of room. You can always find ways to be creative, but I wonder just how many more ways that this universe can create to scare us, because the monsters haven't changed. They still are affected by the same thing. They still hear noise the same way. So the tension is very much the same in both films. It's driven by the same things. Different scenarios can help mix that up, but again, there's only so much you can do even in that department. So I do imagine that the Quiet Place franchise ends at film 3, and I imagine hopefully that film is, I'm sure there's enough steam. John Krasinski has obviously proven to be a talent. Everyone working on these films they've made good number 1, they've made good number 2. Why won't they make good number 3? There's no evidence to suggest that they won't. I'm just nervous this thing, I don't know how much more steam it has. I could be very wrong, but even seeing how many tricks were sort of borrowed from 1 in this film, done better, admittedly, in my opinion, or at least the same as in most people's opinion. I don't know how many more tricks. They can't really just keep borrowing them. It'll get stale. So they'll have to create some new ones, and we'll see how effective that is. But, a third one's coming. That much I know. So, folks, if you saw my review of the first one, that should be up there right now. I have a few gripes with this film. I think have more gripes with this film than the first one, but only by a smidge. I didn't really have any gripes with the first one, if I recall. They're both really solid movies, folks. They're both really great horror blockbusters. They innovate the genre forward. John Krasinski's directing is stellar. Other than that, it's great scares. What more could you want from a movie, right? Great horror. The universe is sort of expanded on, at least in the beginning. And you just get more of what you're going to get. And I love it. I think it's great. Folks, Quiet Place Part 2 easily gets an A for continuing the creativity. And, of course, that intro, I cannot overstate that. I mean, it is just so good. Such a good intro. And then the rest of the film is pretty good as well. So, folks, A Quiet Place Part 2 has to be an A. Alright, folks, that's my review of A Quiet Place Part 2. If you haven't seen it, please go watch it. If this is a film you kind of like, watch the first one first, and then watch my review of the first one first, and then watch the second one, and then watch the review of the second one. You're watching it now. I don't know what I'm saying. Folks, I've been EDPC Reviews. You've been amazing, and I will see you when Quiet Place 3 comes out.